Hey there, fellow geniuses. Welcome back to ADHD Genius. Today I want to talk about something that I think is super relatable for a lot of ADHDers out there. Meltdowns. You know, those moments where your emotions completely take over and you just lose it. Or those moments where everything suddenly feels overwhelming and it's like your brain can't process anything anymore. Yeah, those moments. And if you have ADHD, chances are you know exactly what I'm talking about. But what actually causes ADHD meltdowns? And more importantly, how do we regulate our emotions and stop things from getting to that point? So grab some popcorn, get comfortable, and let's dive in. So first of all, what even is an ADHD meltdown? An ADHD meltdown is basically an intense emotional reaction that happens when your brain and nervous system become overwhelmed. And honestly, it can look different for everybody. For some people, it's crying. For others, it's yelling, shutting down, snapping at people, isolating themselves, or emotionally spiraling. And one of the hardest parts about ADHD meltdowns is that they can seem to happen out of nowhere. 1 minute you're okay, and then suddenly, bam. Your emotions explode over something that might seem small to everybody else, but usually it's not just about that one thing. It's about all the stress, all the frustration, overstimulation, buildup, and overwhelm that happened before that moment. That one thing was just the final straw. And honestly, one of the best ways I've ever heard ADHD emotional meltdowns is through something called the ADHD Volcano model. So basically, at the top of the volcano are the behaviors people actually see. So on top of the volcano, we have things like emotional outbursts, procrastination, irritability, shutting down, crying, frustration, impulsive reactions, or feeling emotionally out of control. That's the part everybody notices. But underneath the surface is where the real ADHD struggle is happening. Underneath that volcano is emotional dysregulation, stress, sensory overload, frustration, negative self-talk, overwhelm, executive dysfunction, and mental exhaustion. And then even deeper than that are the brain-based ADHD struggles themselves. Things like impulsivity, attention regulation, working memory, planning, organization, and emotional regulation. So for example, somebody with ADHD might already be overwhelmed from masking symptoms all day long, forgetting things, losing track of time, struggling to stay organized, feeling behind in life, or trying to keep up with responsibilities. And then one more stressful thing happens and the volcano finally erupts. But most people only see the eruption. They don't actually see everything underneath the volcano. And honestly, I think that's why ADHD meltdowns are so misunderstood. Okay, so why do ADHD meltdowns happen with people with ADHD? People with ADHD tend to experience more frustration in daily life than neurotypical people because our brains process emotions and stress differently. Things like impulsivity, emotional dysregulation, forgetfulness, disorganization, sensory overload, rejection, sensitivity, and executive dysfunction can all increase the likelihood of a meltdown. And honestly, when your environment feels chaotic, your brain can start feeling chaotic too. Like personally, in my room, if my room is like messy, I start feeling overwhelmed way faster because it feels like my brain suddenly has too much to process at once. And another huge thing with ADHD is emotional dysregulation. So now let's talk about what actually helps. One of the biggest things is identifying your triggers. What usually pushes you toward overwhelm. Too much noise, stress, feeling rushed, conflict, sensory overload, feeling misunderstood. Because once you understand your triggers, it becomes easier to recognize the warning signs earlier. Another thing that really helps is grounding yourself physically. Another really popular grounding technique is the 5-4-3-2-1 method, where you focus on 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This actually helps bring your brain back into the present moment instead of spiraling emotionally. Deep breathing can also help calm your nervous system, even if it feels silly at first. And honestly, reducing stimulation can make a huge difference too. Going somewhere quiet, putting headphones on, taking a walk, or just stepping away for a few minutes can help prevent things from escalating further. Getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, journaling, spending time outside, therapy, body doubling, and practicing self-compassion can also help a lot with emotional regulation over time. And please remember this, being hard on yourself after a meltdown usually only makes things worse. Accountability is important, but self-hatred is not helpful. So yeah, if you struggle with ADHD meltdowns, I just want you to know that you are definitely not alone in that. ADHD meltdowns are not a character flaw, and they don't make you weak, lazy, dramatic, or broken. Your brain just gets overwhelmed easily and differently than a neurotypical person. And honestly, the more you learn about your ADHD, your triggers, and your nervous system, the easier it becomes to recognize those emotional warning signs before the volcano finally fully erupts. If this video helped you fully feel understood and understand your ADHD, make sure to like it and subscribe and join the ADHD Genius family. And comment below, what does an ADHD meltdown feel like for you? I'll see you guys in the next video on Saturday.